All right, welcome to Demoivre's Theorem Part 2. Now, if you didn't watch Part 1, go back and watch that now, otherwise some of this stuff's not going to make sense to you. Here's what we established in Part 1. Positive numbers can be written like this, like the number 5 can really be written as 5 at an angle of 0. Okay, and we established that like numbers like -7 can really be written as 7 at an angle of 180. One number positives point that way, and negatives are rotated 180 and point that way. That was why. Okay, so that was number 1. Number 2, what we also established was when you multiply numbers together, now when we do something like -5 times 7, right? And we know that that's equal to -35, but the reason for that is you write 5 as 5 at an angle of 180 times 7 at an angle of 0, and you end up getting 35 at an angle of 180. You multiply the lengths of the numbers, and you add the angles. Okay, go back and check out video number 1. Now, the question on the table is, what is I, and how do we interpret it? If I ask you what is the square root of 36, I know the answer is 6 or -6, I guess, right? But really, I want to rephrase the question. What I'm asking for is what number, length and angle, multiplied by itself, length and angle, is going to end up giving me 36 at an angle of 0. And the number that works is 6, because 6 times 6 is 36. But the angle would need to be 0, because 0 plus 0 is equal to 0. Or you could use an angle of 180, right? Because 180 plus 180 is 360, which is the same thing as 0, okay? Now let's do the same thing with this odd little duck. All right, what's the square root of -1? Well, before you try to answer that, rephrase the question and say to yourself, well, I need a number, length and angle, multiplied by itself, length and angle, that's going to end up giving me 1 at an angle of 180. That's what -1 is. So what is it? Well, 1 times 1 is what gives me the 1. But now I need an angle plus an angle to give me the 180. Now I can't use 180 and 0 because that would be two different angles and thus two different numbers. So the only one that really is going to work for now is going to be 90 and 90. So basically what I've established is I is really 1 at an angle of 90. What's kind of cool about that? Well, I think it's pretty obvious why that's cool. Because up until today, you had 1 and you had -1. But now this number, the reason it's so strange is because you made the assumption all numbers lie on a number line, but they don't. This one's actually above the number line. Now I also want to point out 270 degrees will work also, but we'll get into that.